We continue now at the top of Daf 25a Daf and Meseches Taanis. This is Taanis Daf 25a. The Gemara continues the story with the wife of Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa. She used to light the oven on Friday to make it look like she was cooking. She would have a lot of smoke, mishum kisufa, because she was embarrassed. Rashi over here says mishum kisufa, shahayu shcheinoseh ofos isa l'chavet Shabbos, because her neighbors were all baking dough for the honor of Shabbos. V'hiyei nosa klum, like we said before, they were very poor. She had no money, they had no food. She wasn't doing anything, so she was embarrassed, but she wanted to make it look like she was baking for the covet of Shabbos. So again, she lit her oven and she created a lot of smoke. So Havalo Hachshivavosa Bishta. So she had a neighbor that was a bad neighbor. Amran, and the neighbor said to herself, Michli, let us see. Yadana deles luvalo midi. I know that they don't have any money. My kuli hai, what's going on over here? What is she baking? If they have no money, they have no food. So Azla v'tarfa abava. So she went and she knocked on the door. Ichsefa. So Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa's wife was embarrassed. Va'ayla li'injruna, and she went to the inner room. It's avid lo nisa. Then a miracle happened. The chazi letanura moli lachma v'agna moli bisha. That they saw that the oven, the neighbor saw the oven was full of bread. She saw the kneading basin was full of dough. So Amrullah, so she said to her, Palnisa, she said to the woman of the house, she said, come, I see masa de kacharech lachmech, go bring a shovel, because the bread is being burned. You have a lot of bread being burned in the oven. So Amrullah, so the wife of Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa said to her neighbor, Afana lahachi aili, that's exactly what I went into the inner room for, in order to do that, because I knew that I had all this bread that was burning. And the Gemara adds, Tanya was taught, Afhi lohavi mardenichna. She really did go to get a shovel, because she was very used to having miracles. She had a feeling, a suspicion that was going to happen, and therefore she was preparing for such a miracle. And the Gemara continues, Amrullah devisu. So his wife said to him, Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa's wife said to him, how long do we have to suffer that we have to be so poor? So Amar Allah, so he said to her, my navit, so what should we do? So she said, Boy Rachmi, the Neis V'lachmidi. Why don't you daven that HaKadosh Baruch Hu should give us something? So Boy Rachmi, so he davened, Yotztakim in Pisas Yad, and it was like a hand came down from Shamayim, V'yohavu lechadkar de psora de dava, and it gave him the leg of a table, the golden leg of a table. So Chaza b'chel ma'asiri tzadiki dachle absura de dava de islay plus kari. So she saw a dream, and she saw a dream that in the future the tzadikim, they're going to eat at a table, a golden table with 3 legs. However, v'iyu ocheles absura de trei kari, but they were going to be eating on a table that only had 2 legs. So Amar Lo, so he said to her, Nicholach de mechel achli kuli alma absura de meshlam v'anon absura de mechsar. Is that good for you? This is what he said to his wife, that everybody's going to be eating on a table that's full, that has 3 legs, and we're going to have a table that only has 2 legs. So Amrullah, so she said to him, my navid, so what should we do? So boy rachmi de nishkolinu minach. So he said, what we can do is we can daven, and they should take back the leg. So boy rachmi, so he davened v'shaklu, and they took back the leg. And the Gemara says, Tana was taught, Gadol hayanes achron yosem min arishon. The later miracle, meaning the taking away of the leg, was even greater than the giving of it. To Gemiri, because it is a tradition, to meyav yahavi, that from Shamayim they give. Mishkal lo shakli, but they don't take. So it was a greater miracle that it was taken away. And the Gemara continues with another story with Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa. Chazi levrate, one time he saw his daughter, dehavasat siva, that she was sad. Amar Allah, so he said to her, Biti, my daughter, lamayat sift, what are you sad about? Amrullah, she said to him, Klishal chometz nischalef li b'klishal shemen. I got mixed up between the vessel that had the vinegar and the vessel that had the oil. Bidlakti mimenu or l'Shabbos, and I lit the vinegar as the candles for Shabbos. Amar Loi said to her, Biti, my daughter, my ichbas lach, what concerns you? Mishamar l'shemen v'yidlok, the one who says that the oil is able to burn, hu yomer l'chometz v'yidlok, he's the one that can make the vinegar burn. And Tana was taught, hayadolek v'holech kol hayom kulo, the vinegar was able to burn the entire day, the entire Shabbos, at shehiviu mimenu or l'havdalah, that they were even able to use it for the fire for Havdalah. And the Gemara continues with another story, Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa havalei hanach izi. Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa had some goats. Amrullah kamifsadan. So the neighbor said that the goats, they're stealing from us. We're losing out because of them. So Amar, so he said, kamifsadan, if that's true, if they're destroying property, so nechlinu duvi, they should be eaten by bears. Vilo, but if it's not true, so kol chada v'chada tesi le'ursa duva bekarnayu. Every single one of these goats should have a bear in its horns in the evening. And L'Ursa in the evening, that's exactly what happened. Each one of them brought a bear in their horns. In other words, it was a proof that really Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa's goats were not causing any damage to anyone. The Gemara continues with another story. He had a neighbor that she was building a house. But the beams of the house, they weren't properly reaching the walls. So Asi Lakame, she came to him, Amrullah, she said to him, Bonisi Beisi v'lo kamata kashurai, I'm building my house and the beams aren't fitting properly. Amar Lo, he said to her, Mashmech, what's your name? Amrulei, she said to him, Eichu, my name is Eichu. Amar Eichu nimtu keshurech. Eichu literally means if so. So he said to her, if so, let the beams of your house, let them reach the proper spot. Tanu is taught, Higiu, that they did reach the proper spot. Achiyotzu amalakan ve'amalakan. They were even an extra amma overhanging past the walls on both sides. And some say snifan asom, that it's not that they stretched out, but rather what happened was there were additions that were made to the house that were able to allow it, that the beams would reach properly. As Rashi over here explains, Zeichu nimtu keshurech, the first one was yarichu hakoros, they should lengthen. And then the other opinion was snifan hayu hakoros shel cholyos hayu, the beams were made of different pieces. And b'maisa nes, through a miracle, nidviku lehen chatichos ketanos laorchon, small pieces were added along the length in order that they should reach the proper length. And the Gemara continues, Tanya, we learned in a brisa, Plimo Omer Plimo says, Ani ro'isi oso abais, I saw that house. Vayu korosov yotzos amalakan v'amalakan, and indeed the beams, they stuck out, they jutted out, one am on this side, one am on the other side. V'yamruli, and the people told me, Bayizeh Shekiro Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa betfiloso, this is the house that Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa roofed through his tefillos. And the Gemara continues, Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa mehechan havaleizim, but Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa, from where did he get goats? V'ha'ani have it, but number one, he was poor. V'yod, and furthermore, Amru Chachamim, the Chachamim said, Ein megadlin behemadaka be'Eretz Yisrael, you're not allowed to raise behemadaka, smaller kinds of animals, you're not allowed to raise them in Eretz Yisrael. And so the Gemara answers, Amar Rapinchas says, Ma'isa v'yavaradam echad al Pesach Beis. So the story is as follows. One time, there was somebody that passed by his house, v'iniach sham tarnagol, and he put some chickens there. U'mitzasa nishto shel Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa, and the wife of Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa, she found these chickens. V'yamar lo, and he said to her, Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa said to his wife, Al tochlu mi beit and you shouldn't eat from the eggs, these don't belong to us. V'hirbu beitzim v'tarnagolim, v'yimitzarno some, and then the chickens, they laid eggs, there were more chickens, and it was already causing a problem for them. Umachran v'kana b'demeyanizim, so then they sold the chickens, and with the money they bought goats. And then Pamachas one time, Avaroso Adam Sha'avdu Mimenu Hatarnagol, and that same person who lost the chickens, he passed by. V'yamar l'chaveru, he said to his friend, Bekan hinachti Hatarnagolin shali, here's where I once left my chickens. Shamar Rabbi Chanina, so Rabbi Chanina heard this. Amar lo, he said to him, Yesh lach ben siman, do you have a siman to prove that the chickens were yours? Amar lo hey, and he said, yes, I have a siman. Nasan lo siman, he gave him a siman, v'nata lesa izin, and he took back the goats. V'hein hein izei da'aisu duvi b'karnayim, and those are the very same goats that brought the bears in their horns. And the Gemara continues with another story. Rabbi Elazar ben Padas, techikole milsa tuva. Rabbi Elazar ben Padas, he was very poor. Avad milsa v'lo havale midi limitam. So one time he did milsa. Milsa refers to bloodletting, and he didn't have anything to eat afterwards, so he was weak. So shakal brother tuma v'shadya v'pume. He took a clove of garlic, he put it in his mouth. Cholash libe, he became weak. V'nim, and he fell asleep. So Azur Rabbanan l'shiyule be. So the rabbis came to check on him. Chazyu de kabachi v'chayich. They saw that he was crying and then he was smiling. This was all while he was sleeping. V'nafak tzutzisa denura me'afuse. And then they saw that from his face, from his head, it came out like a shining light. So ki yisar amrule. So when he woke up, they said to him, "My time kabachis v'chayacht." What was the reason why when you were sleeping you were crying and you were smiling? Amar lahu, so he said to them, what happened was, I was sitting with me was HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And I said to him, how much more do I have to suffer in this world? And he said to me, Elazar b'ni, Elazar my son, is it good for you, would it be pleasing to you, if I started the whole world over again from the beginning? And maybe then you'll be born in a time when there's food available, when there's more money available, you'll be born in a better time, you won't be so poor. So Amri lekame kuli hai ve'efsher. So I said to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you're going to do all of that and it's only possible that that's going to happen? So Amri le, dechaye tzvei or dechaina. Then I said to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, am I going to live more still, or have I lived the majority of my life already? Amar le dechayis. So he said back to me, you've already lived the majority of your life. So Amri lekame. So therefore I said to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Mkein if so lo be'ina. I don't want that you should start the whole world over again. I've already lived the majority of my life. So Amar Li, so then HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to me, B'hayigra da'amrit lo be'ina, as a reward for saying you don't require this, you don't want me to start the whole world over again. Yahivna loch li'alma da'asi, I'm going to give you an olam haba, t'leisrei naharvasa demishcha farsamon dachyon. 13 rivers of pure balsam oil, kipras v'diglas, like the Euphrates and the Tigris River, dema'angas behu, and you'll have pleasure, you'll derive pleasure from these rivers. So Amri l'kameh, so I said to him, Hai v'sulo, that's where you're going to give me and nothing more. Amar li, so he said to me, well, if I give you more than that, what am I going to give? What's going to be available for your chaverim, for your friends? And so the Gemara says, Amri le, so I said to him, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, v'anam migarva de lesle, but am I asking from somebody who doesn't have? In other words, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has everything. What do you mean you're not going to have enough for my chaverim? And so the Gemara concludes, Machyon beskulta apusoi, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu snapped his finger on my forehead, v'yamar li, said to me, Elazar bari, Elazar my son, giri bach giri. My arrows are upon you, my arrows are upon you. And we'll see a couple of Rashis over here. Amar dechayis, HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him, you lived the majority of your life already. Mashakvar chayis merubim, mimasha ta'asid lichios. That which you've already lived is more from what you will live. V'hainu dekabachi, that explains the crying. Ki amar shchina hachi, when the Shechina said that, he cried that the majority of his life was over. And the reason why he laughed, smiled, that was because of the promise of the 13 rivers. And Rashi also says, again, he snapped his finger on his head. That refers to the light that shone from his head. Again, he kind of snapped his fingers to Elazar's head, to Rabbi Elazar's head, and that's what caused the light. And the Gemara continues, Rabbi Chama bar Chanina gazar Taanisa v'lo asa mitra. Rabbi Chama bar Chanina, he decreed a fast, and the rain did not come. So Amrulay, so they said to him, Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi gazar Taanisa v'asi mitra. But Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi, when he decreed a fast, the rain did come. Amar lahu, so he said to them, Ho ano ha bar Levi. There's myself and there's the son of Levi. In other words, we're two separate people. You can't compare. Amrulay, so they said to him, the Nesi v'nechavin daitin, let's go and focus. Efshar de tavrit tzibur libayu, maybe we can break the hearts of the community. Tiasi mitra, and maybe that's going to cause the rain to come. So Bon Rachmi, so that's what they did. They asked for mercy, but lo asi mitra, the rain did not come. Amar Lahu, so he said to them, Nicha l'chusha yavo moter b'shvilenu. Is it good for you all that the rain should come in our merit? Amru lehein, so they said yes. So Amar, so he said, Rakia kasi ponecha. He said, sky, cover your face, meaning let the clouds come. Lo ichsi, it didn't work, the clouds did not come. Amar, so finally he said, Kama azin panei rakia. Look how much azus, look how brazen the sky is, that it doesn't listen to me, it's so impudent. So ichsi, so then the clouds came, v'yasa mitra, and the rain came. The Gemara continues, Levi gazar Taanisa v'lo asa mitra. Levi once decreed a fast, and the rain didn't come. Amar lefan of Ribbono Shalom, he said, Master of the world, Alisi v'ashafta b'amorum ve'ina tamarachim al bonecha. You're up there in the heavens, but you're not showing any mercy on your children. So asa mitra, so the rain did come. Ve'itla, however, Levi became lame. In other words, it was a punishment for talking that way to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rabbi Elazar says, Liolam al yatiach adam devarim klape mala. A person shouldn't throw words towards the heaven. In other words, you shouldn't speak to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so to speak, in this inappropriate manner. Sharei adam gadol, because there was a great man, hitiach devarim klape mala. He threw his words towards the heavens. Ve'itla, and he became lame. In other words, that's a reference here. Umanu, who is that Levi? That's a reference to our story to Levi, the way he talked regarding the rain. That's what caused him to be injured. So the Gemara says, V'ha garmale, but is that what caused this to happen to him? V'ha Levi achvi keda kame de Rebbe. But isn't there another story that Levi showed keda, which is a kind of bowing in front of Rebbe? V'itla, and that's what caused this injury that he became lame. And so the Gemara says, Havaha Garmale, really they both caused it. Both things were part of the cause. And the Gemara continues, Rabbi Chia bar Lulaini, Shaminu lahan chanoni zoka amri. So Rabbi Chia bar Lulaini, he heard the clouds that they were speaking and saying, Nesu v'nesvi maya ba'amun and Moav. Let's go and drop some water on the nations of Ammon and Moav. Amar lefan of Ribbono Shalom. So he said, Master of the world, Kishanasata Torah li'amcha Yisrael, when you gave the Torah to your nation Israel, Chazarta kolum osolem, you went, you presented it to all the nations of the world. V'lo kiblu, they didn't accept it. Ve'achshav, and now atanosin lahem matar, you're giving them the rain. Shadu hacha, instead you should put it over here. And so the Gemara says, Shadu aduchtayo. That's exactly what happened. The rain was dropped over Eretz Yisrael instead. And the Gemara continues, Darash Rabbi Chia bar Lulaini, Rabbi Chia bar Lulaini darshans mai dichsiv. What does the pasuk mean when it says Tzadik hatamar yifrach ki erez balvanon yiske? It compares the tzaddik to a tamar, to a date tree, and also to an erez, to a cedar tree. Im nemar tamar lama nemar erez. If it says tamar, why erez? Vim nemar erez lama nemar tamar. Why is it saying the two different kind of trees? And so the Gemara explains, Ilu nemar tamar v'lo nemar erez. If it said the date palm and not the cedar tree, Hayisi Omer, so I would have said ma tamar. What do we find when it comes to the tamar? And we'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf 25a Amud Beis.